you if you were going to be a washing machine, if you were going to be a washing machine, would you be the speed queen of washing machines, or would you be the hi-fi, Wi-Fi, jingly when you're done with the work type of washing machine?
I'm going to be the speed queen. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be that durable, sturdy, last forever. Maybe the buttons are not really pretty. Maybe it doesn't jingle when it gets done, but it's sturdy and it's going to last forever.
Couple of dents here and there, but getting the job done.
All good.
Yeah. I've come to appreciate that. As a much younger man, I think I would have went with the hi-fi Wi-Fi, but now I'm feeling like a few dents here and there are okay, but getting the job done. Jerry?
Yeah, I got to tell you, this conversation reminds me of somebody who's going to hack our homes at some point and start turning lights on and off in the middle of the night, making our washing machine go, talking to the heater or whatever the hell is going on, because everything is all connected now. And I can't figure out any of that. I really need to go to it and push a button rather than try to figure out how to do this on my phone.
So it does all seem to. So here's a really funny example. I have 48 can lights in the house. All of them are hooked to music in the ceiling, and they do like a million colors. You know, that the LED candle. So on the weekends, we hit the button, we sync the music, and the whole house is like I'm sure we look crazy from outside, but like it's all the lights and flashing, and it's synced to the music, and it's great. But Jerry, to your point, like my lights are hooked to the network. My washing machine, I don't know why, but my washing machine is on the Wi-Fi, and I even have my oven on the Wi-Fi. And although I don't know why, because we mentioned this earlier, there's no way I would turn the oven on to preheat while I'm not home. There's no meal I need made that badly. So
and then somebody can take over the whole thing. They can hack it and say, look,
that's right.
You've forgotten all of your passwords. We now control your house. We are going to make it a nightmare until you pay us, $1,000 or something.
You're saying our appliances could be ransomware, is what I hear you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Why bother, trying to hack a business? They've got police officers and other people. The FBI is concerned about them. But they're going to do it to homes. They're just going to go into neighborhoods and just own the neighborhood.
Well, Amy, they can't hack a speed queen, can they?
No, they cannot. No hacking going on there.
There's a lot going on there. All right, are we ready to get going?
You bet.
All right, let's talk about some stuff.
Welcome to the CXR channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
I feel like I want to get a t-shirt that says you can't hack a speed queen, but I'm just not sure how that gets received in public. Look, welcome to our weekly podcast. Believe it or not, it's about recruiting. This is a recruiting community podcast. I'm super excited to be here. I am your host, Tonto. I'm going to bring in from the green room, the Lone Ranger. How are you, Jerry?
I love it. I'm fine. Kimosabi.
It's good to, I think you have that flipped, but that's all right. It's good to see you. We got a couple of things we're going to talk about. I'm excited about the topic today. I want to do a couple of housekeeping things first. If you are with us live on LinkedIn, there's a little chat window over there. We're going to ask that you go ahead. Facebook too, I believe. You can drop in any questions you've got. You want to just say hello. You want to put in your LinkedIn profile, do a little networking. You can do that too. Super easy. We'll do a call out for you. If you comment in there, you got something to contribute. If you've got questions for Amy, our guest today, which I hope that you do. I think we've got a really interesting topic today. We will pose those to her and you can just have some, we can conversate. We're just welcome to have you conversate there. So we are streaming on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. You can also get information about this episode and previous episodes and upcoming episodes at cxr.work/podcast. You can check that out. And as a reminder, this is an ad-free labor of love. Nobody pays to be on the show. You're here because we invited you, because we think you have something cool to say. And we want to shine a light on that. If you know somebody or you yourself would be interested, reach out to Jerry or myself and talk to us. We'll see if it makes sense to put you on the show. And I think the last thing I just want to mention, and it kind of goes with the show, Jerry, we can talk a little bit just for a hot minute before Amy comes in. We have launched a new course on cxr.org/learning. Now, for those who don't already know, we have put up a series of courses. I think we got 4 courses that actually sit out on the site today. We've got Making Pay Transparency a Recruiting Advantage. We've got Recruiting Underrepresented Talent, which is the newest course, which I'm super excited about. And Jerry, I'll ask for your comment when I take a breath. Closing the Gender Gap in Tech, and then Foundations of the Candidate Experience. We're approaching upwards of almost 500 people that have gone through and taken the courses, so we are super pumped. They are included in CXR membership. If you are not a membership, if you're not a member of Career Crossroads, you can also take the course anyway. Take it yourself on your own. Jerry, you want to talk briefly about the new coursework we did with Roy Bellotti for Recruiting Underrepresented Talent?
Yeah, Roy is really one of the more amazing people I've ever met. You know, he is from Lebanon. He worked for Smart Recruiters, went back to Lebanon and was there during that horrendous explosion. But he's into a mission, and his organization, Jobs for Humanity, is really focused in on inclusion in a way that I think we really need to kind of think about. He recognizes some of the issues around immigration and some of the folks who are trying to move from one part of the world to another part. He really is operating at a different level than many of us in terms of how he's thinking about underrepresented groups on a global basis. And I think a lot of his work deserves some light. And I love the fact that he's put together for us kind of a master class on diversity and inclusion that I think will open everyone's eyes in a whole different way.
Yeah, I love it. He does some rather extensive training on that. And he's just, I mean, if I had my second t-shirt of the show, it would be I Love Roy Bellotti. That would be the second t-shirt that I would wear. But I'd encourage anybody to check it out because he just really does a nice job. I think it's 10 segments, which sounds like a lot, but I think the class, you can get through the whole thing in about an hour and 15, I think, as you go through it. But it talks underrepresented talent includes, to your point, Jerry, hearing disabilities, vision disability, and even immigration. Right. Which is kind of interesting. It's something that as recruiters, we deal with a little bit of that here and there, but I just don't think we give it enough attention.
Well, he's dealing with refugee issues, and in the last decade or so, and I think in coming decades, we may see this movement of people around the world from various places in ways that we're going to have to look at it a lot differently than we do today.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, okay, so there's enough about us. If you're interested, cxr.org/learning. You can check that out. But I'm going to bring in our guest now. Here she comes from the green room. Amy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Chris? Hey, Jerry.
Good. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
So, Amy, we know you obviously as the CEO of HRCI and HRSI. But for those who maybe have not met you or don't know much about you, why don't you give us kind of that escalator pitch of who is Amy Dufrane? Why should they be paying attention to what you have to say today?
Super. Well, for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm a learning junkie. I love to learn, and I love to help people to learn and to be better. So naturally, being the CEO for HRCI and HRSI has been just a match made in heaven for me to support the profession that I love and that I have been a part of for more than 30 years. I've worked in for-profit and not-for-profit organizations from an HR perspective before I became the CEO for HRCI. So I have walked in the shoes of HR professionals and am super passionate about what and how HR can really change businesses for the better. So I feel like this is, just a great time to be an HR leader. To be part of the profession that has changed so dramatically, and really looking forward to continuing my lifelong journey of continuing to be a junkie in learning.
I love the junkie of learning.
Yeah.
And we pulled you out of a board meeting, I think. Did we pull you out of some budget chat?
We did.
So,
Like everyone else right now, we're knee deep in budgets. So my team is presenting our budget right now. So thank you for taking me away from for a little while, right?
I was gonna say, you don't seem mad at us. You don't seem mad at us at
I
all.
know.
So let's talk really quickly before we jump in. And I have a couple of questions I want to ask you, but can you explain, Amy, the difference for those who may not know? Can you explain the difference between HRCI and HRSI? How can you be the CEO of both of these things simultaneously? What are those?
Right. So HRCI has been around for 50 years. This is our 50th anniversary, which we're totally excited about. And we began as the certifying body for HR practitioners. So HR generalists across the board who, we cover our HRBOC, our HR body of knowledge covers all of the facets of HR. And we began as a certifying organization. We have 8 different certifications. Most people know the PHR, SPHR, but we've added an APHR certification for individuals that are trying to break into HR, for college students who want to validate their knowledge and get a job, all the way up to that SPHR. We have a GPHR, which is for individuals that are practicing cross-border HR. And then we had individuals who were taking the HRCI, PHR, and SPHR certifications outside the United States, and they were not successful at that because we have the alphabet soup of HR that's embedded in the certification. ADA, FMLA, FLSA, all those things. And so what we did is created a certification stack, APHRI, PHRI, SPHRI, for individuals who are practicing HR outside the United States. And part of, if you're going to be an SPHRI, you have to take a course, a legal course, to demonstrate your knowledge in the particular country in which you're practicing HR. So we've certified 500,000 people. We're in more than 120 countries.
Wow.
And that is growing exponentially, which we're thrilled about, because when HR is practiced well everywhere, it makes us all more and better businesses and business leaders. So that's the exciting part about how we started. Over the past decade, we've added learning content to our portfolio of offerings. So we've got more than 220 courses. We have certificates that we've added to our programmatic offerings. We do all sorts of free learning for our community, talking about just, the whole gamut of things that are going on in HR. And several years ago, we became the secretariat for what's called TC 260, which is the technical committee that is writing standards for the HR profession. And HRCI is leading this. We've added a continent since we took this on. We've added more countries to people that are participating in writing standards. And that too is a marker that our profession is continuing to evolve, and that we're setting those standards and using that language that is now international. We're not, the terms are international. We have a dictionary that we use. And so I think this is super exciting for the profession. And when we took on TC 260, the first standard that we launched, that we as the collective we globally, not just HRCI, is a standard on diversity and inclusion. So when you were talking about that, that's music to my ears, because standardization of that is a beautiful thing. When we have organizations that are really singing from the same piece of music when it comes to DE&I is exactly what we need. And so we're certifying organizations against that. And that is where we transition to HRSI, because I founded HRSI to certify organizations against those standards. So we have certified many organizations. We have 2 big announcements coming up. I'm actually meeting with a large organization that we just certified. We'll be making an announcement soon about that. And these are organizations that are using those best practices of what is the standard of 30415. which is diversity and inclusion. But there are many other standards. I don't want to just focus on that because HRSI also sets standards or is certifying organizations against 30414, which is human capital reporting, which the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, has really been laser focused on this standard because they want publicly traded companies to be reporting on their most important resource, which is their people. And they want them to use the same language. There's been some preliminary information about it that it's a little more scaled back than what we had hoped for, but we're making progress, right? We're taking one step at a time and how organizations should be reporting. So that's more than an elevator speech about both organizations, but I think it's a really a vibrant organization that has seen a lot of change and has really helped people and organizations be better.
I think it's critical for a lot of people who work in human resources and may not have had formal education in it to realize that there is a lifetime of learning available to them to become, if you will, what they may be already working at, which is a human resource professional. And obviously talent acquisition is a function in much respect to that. I mean, I am a proud member of SPHR and formerly involved with TC 260, which is part of ISO. So it's fascinating. And I think when people want to go a little bit deeper in their chosen profession and career, I think they should be looking at HRCI and a lot of the wealth of stuff that you have from that perspective. So I think that's really great.
I love it, and I don't want to take away from the HR side of it. And I realize technically TA is sort of within the HR, but in the spirit of Marsha, let me ask you, Amy, like in your view, what role does learning and development, so the courses, the certifications, right? What does that play in helping recruiters specifically sort of navigate the challenges that could range? I think to your earlier point, it could range from DE&I within TA to new advanced recruiting practices.
That's right. I mean, I think for sure, from HRCI, we cover the gamut of HR. So looking at it from a TA perspective, I think for TA folks, it's important to have that knowledge and understanding from, a larger perspective of all the components of HR, because really you're the touch point for many of the beginning journeys, or mostly all of the beginning journeys of the relationship, that employee-employer relationship. And I think that's where the beauty of this comes in, is to start early on in that, in that relationship by having the TA folks really be a part of that. But, TA is its own specialty in and of itself. And I think that there's been a lot of evolution in sort of that, in that area. And there has been in every aspect of HR. I mean, I think back 30 years ago when I started in HR and what's happening now, and it's mind blowing. Sort of the advances that have happened across the board. So anything that we can do to continue to professionalize different facets of HR, from comp and ben to TA to the learning and development and training and education, those are all important, really, deep areas that we need specialists in those specific areas so that we can continue to advance professionally across the board.
So are there long-term thinking for HRCI to build more of those specialty kinds of standards and certifications?
Absolutely. We're looking at how do we do that? How do we continue to advance every profession by looking deep in some of those specific standards area. For example, right now we are working more in the technology space because we've seen advances in artificial intelligence and the AI and technology and digital transformation and privacy. So we're going to go deep into there in 2024. There's a group right now in the global community that's working and developing standards in that space. So we're really excited about that, and we'll continue to go deep in that. HRCI we don't say this is where we're going to be writing standards. It's the global community that says, you know what, we really need to have a standard here, and we need to, have a deeper look at what this could mean from an HR perspective. And I think what's really important around the ISO work is that the technical committee of 260 is now being tapped to join other technical committees that have absolutely nothing to do with HR in a direct way. But we're seeing, so I think that really speaks to, they want our voices at the table across the board. So when we're looking at, total quality, when we're looking at, health in the workplace. So there's a group that's focused really on health, but they wanted to go into wellness, workplace wellness. And we said, wait. We've got a standard for that already. And so you can join our group. So we're, this navigation around sort of the ISO work is really, I think we've seen it advance to a place that's much better than where it's been since 260 started.
And ISO has been around for obviously a long time.
Very long time.
People most often think of it in terms of good manufacturing practices, but by and large, on a global basis, it's a powerful organization because you're looking at consensus on a global scale. The problem, though, from my perspective, is an organization that old has processes that take forever to get things done. And then the result gets hidden behind a firewall that you need that no one's promoting. So the end result is you don't even know that behind that firewall is, for example, a standard in the definition of talent acquisition that's been around now for about 5 years. But I would bet 99% of those leaders in TA don't even know that there is one and how to get it, that kind of thing. So part of what you might be doing is figuring out how to promote this.
That's right. And we've got a lot of work to do in that promotion. So having this big megaphone is really important to continue to really proclaim the work of the global community around this, because this is what will continue to advance the profession. So that we don't have to keep redefining TA, or we don't have to redefine what is, a compensation system. And I think one of the things that I think diversity and inclusion standard is a really good example of that, because there was a lot of consternation around, what do we name this? What should it be named? And really it was diversity and inclusion. So, as we talked about it, some people say, well, their equity's not in it and belonging's not in it. Well, around the world, that's not always accepted around the world. So we have to come to terms with a definition that is acceptable globally. And then we will put definitions in a dictionary as to what we mean by some of these areas, so that we are inclusive of all of people's opinions, and that it does represent the world from an ISO perspective. But those are those are some of the challenges that you have when you work as a team globally, as we all know, right? We do it every day. So
yeah, well, and it's admirable work. But Amy, let me ask you, and just kind of sort of a spin-off of, I think, what Jerry was talking about is, so now you've got this megaphone, and I think by and large, I would argue that the majority of TA leaders in place today, when they hear HRCI, right, or they think these certifications, they think PHR and SPHR. And they're really not aware of the broader scope, or they just, I think at present, if it comes up in a conversation, you're kind of shrugging it off like, I don't really see the value add there for the direction that we're headed, et cetera. So now you've got this bullhorn, you've got this big microphone. What would you what's one thing you would tell TA leaders today about HRCI, about HRSI that they should be aware of from a TA perspective?
Right. From a TA perspective, I think that there's more than just one thing. I think it's not only that we have some learning courses that are relevant for TA. Not obviously as deep as you all are, for sure, but we're trying to bring people along at all levels of the TA journey. So I think that's kind of one area. The second is just an awareness that there are standards that are out there, and that there has been a lot of work that's been done around creating standards, and that there's that awareness from that perspective. And finally is around being certified. And I think that people that are certified are invested in their profession, whatever that profession is. If it's a certified financial planner, or if you're a CFA, or if you have your law degree, you've done some work. So from an HR perspective, the markers of excellence from a PHR and SPHR that demonstrate you're committed to the profession. From a perspective of your knowledge, it really is demonstrates your deep knowledge for the profession, that you have the know-it-all to be a great HR leader. So that when you're a TA person and you're looking for that great HR talent, those are the markers that you want to look for in your future HR professionals.
I love it. I love it. So Amy, before we let you go, we ask everybody this who's on the show, if you were going to write a book today about the state of things, what would you title that book?
So that's kind of funny you should ask that. I did not know that's the question that you were asking. And right now, we are going to press right now with a book that is modeled after our webinar series called Alchemizing HR, which is every Tuesday, 1:00 Eastern time. And we have great thought leaders, but we're really basing this on our professional development model and bringing in stories from HR leaders around the world who can illuminate some of the examples of the professional development model, so that we can help people that are dealing with problems today, who are trying to break into HR today, to be better at what they're doing tomorrow. So that's what I would title it, as Alchemizing HR, because that's the book that is eminently coming out. So very excited about it.
I love that. I love it. So Amy, who are you going to give the first signed copy to?
Oh, of course you.
No, you can't give it to anybody on the show. You have to give it to somebody else.
Well, the chair of our board, Andre Allen, who is the CEO and founder for an organization called Fifth Theory in the assessment space. I think the second person that I might give a copy to is no longer on the planet, but his name is Herbert Henneman, and he was the first person HRCI certified when we started 50 years ago. So I would give him a copy, but I'd have to send it up to some, space of wherever, celestial, wherever his soul is, I would send it there. Dave Ulrich, who has been, a great partner to HRCI and to myself, who wrote a little cover on the back of our book, I would of course give him a shout out as well. Give him a signed copy. So there you go.
I love it.
Three people.
Well, look, Amy, that's fantastic and heartwarming. But Amy, I just want to say thank you so much. I know you're super busy. Sorry to pull you out of budget chats today.
Wow.
You look really broken up about it, but we do appreciate you making time for us and our listeners. And we're just happy to have you on next time. So let us know when you're ready.
Super, Chris. It was great to be with you and Jerry. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Good stuff. Until next time, anybody interested, cxr.work/events and cxr.work/podcast. And that's it for the show. Let's say bye, Amy.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works, facebook.com and twitter.com/careercrossroads, and on Instagram @careerxroads. We'll catch you next time.